Okay. I always have to take a second to make sure we're actually working. So there's always a slight hesitation. But good morning. This is the Reinventing the Tattoo Thursday morning fundamentals with Kier Franklin. That's me. If for those of you who don't know, or for those of you who have this is your first time, basically we sit here and talk about the fundamentals of art and how it relates to tattooing. And pretty much open the eyes of not only young artists just getting into the game, but older generation artists who just want to go back to their basic fundamentals and see if there's anything they need to like tweak or upgrade or anything like that. I am 23 years old. I'm a first year tattooer. I just got licensed in January, and I'm here to hone in on the fundamentals of art, which is what I've been studying and only studying for the last 4 years that I've had my apprenticeship and or studying. So we're going to screen share here and we're going to jump right into this. We got a lot of content to get through. Today is going to be a big note-taking day, so make sure, feel free to write stuff down, screenshot anything I have, or if you want me to go over something again, feel free to let me know in the comments. I am watching all of that, I think. So, let's see here. So last week we had done eggs. That was our assignment. Really focusing on midtone and making sure we're placing it in the right areas and making sure that our reflected light is darker than our midtone because it is still part of the dark family. And today our goal is to really, solidify the differences between light and dark families by going over the light family today. We will be talking still about the terms that we've been talking about the past couple weeks, just to continue with the terminology, because as I said in my very first class, I want to teach everybody different terms of speaking in art, even though I'm terrible at speaking any other way. And so that way, when you want to explain what you're having an issue in or what you want to excel in, you can have a better understanding of how to explain it to not only others, but how to understand it better within yourself. So with that being said, these are just, once again, for those of you who maybe this is your first time, these are some common terms we've been discussing since the beginning. I've been doing these classes. I've thrown all of these words around besides central light. This will be the first time that we are going to be going over what central light is and the difference between central light and your main highlight on your form or composition here. So, and I got a new iPad, so bear with me. I'm still trying to figure out, because there's no home button or anything like that. So if I delay, give me a second. But so I did this egg and pretty straightforward. I added a very small amount of ambient occlusion just to show where it would be. And once again, once I go to the terms, you can see ambient occlusion is that bottom right one. And that, for those who don't know, that is the absolute dark, okay? Or in tattooing, that is your field of black. That is where light does not exist, period. And this happens out in nature as well. Example I say all the time. When you're looking at a car and the tires are on the ground and it's a bright sunny day, overhead light, you see that there's like pretty much black cast shadow underneath the tire, and then right behind the tire there, right? So if I have, this is my tire, terrible tire, that's okay. Our ambient occlusion would be anything that would be within this range, because that's absolute black. This field that's in here may be getting some light. It would be your reflected light, right? It could be like a 7, 8 on the value scale out of 10 that everybody may have seen. Okay, but your ambient occlusion is just the absolute black that is tucked away that gives it that extra heightened contrast. Okay, which really what it does is just extend your field of black throughout. So sorry, once again, new iPad. So let's go to the opposite spectrum here, and we'll discuss central light. So when we could bring that up real quick again. So that central light is pretty much defined in the simplest of terms, the area of most directed light. Okay, so that is the rim or area. Let me make sure I'm on the right rim or area here before that Terminator line, right? Because when you separate those two families now you're maybe seeing a little bit more tones. So your central light here is the most impacted light. It's not your highlight, okay? Your highlight is not this extreme. I wouldn't make this whole section white. That's not proper, and that's a common mistake that is made. You have to add your midtone in here, but at the same time, that central light is just anything within this rim, because you can see that clear separation between what is clearly very bright and what is a midtone, which is what we talked about last week. Okay. And then after that midtone, what is it? It's that Terminator line. So that means anything that is past this point is not in the light family. It is now a dark, right? Terminator line, reflective light, darks, ambient occlusion. Okay. This is how I want everybody to start dissecting everything, because this is where it starts fundamentally, is understanding these terms and understanding that these things exist here. And our highlight is the lightest area on the form, a reflection of your light source. Okay. And we do, and very excitingly enough, have a guest appearance that's going to be happening later in the show. Our good friend Nick Mitchell. Just give me 1 second. He's having trouble finding it. All right. So I hope this gave you a second to really understand this, okay? And I have it labeled below on the bottom right-hand side here. Okay, your highlight is that big green arrow that's pointing to that little tiny center in the ball. And I picked a very shiny ball for a reason, because of the blatant rule that nothing is absolute white unless it's wet or metal. Okay, because of why? Because it's the lightest area on the form, a reflection of your light source. That's why you will never see anything that is absolute white out in nature unless it's wet or metal, because it's reflecting. Okay. And if you're having a tough time understanding the two value differences, I have them also swatched below. I swatched it straight from our example here. Okay. And I hope you're understanding this, because a big issue that we have in tattooing, especially in black and gray and or in color, is applying too many white highlights. Taking your white highlights and making that your central light or center light. That's not it. Well, here, what are some examples that you then of proper use of lighting? Well, our good friend Nick Mitchell, who will be on later, has very good examples on his Instagram. Okay. The differences between central light and highlight. And once we start going into this, I hope it's going to start being a little more clear to you of how to place your light side of your family, because the darker side of the family, for me personally, is a much easier understanding, because once you establish that Terminator line, it's like, okay, which side is dark? There it is. And then just add a little bit of reflected light. There you go. You got some form. But what about the light family? Okay. Don't they deserve the same exact time and effort that you've been putting into the dark family? So here I have it labeled. And the image on the right-hand side was a little more difficult because it's clearly not finished, but I just read it as is. Okay. So this is the center light, the area that is getting the most amount of light. Okay. Okay, but here, what about those other areas that are clearly very bright and, popping out in front of my eyes? Well, that is your highlights. See how few highlights are on both of these pieces? It's a very select amount and properly placed. Okay. So then after central light and your highlight are established here, what we got midtones. Okay. And midtones can only happen on the light side of the face, because once again, once you cross that Terminator line, that's now the dark family. That's now a midtone anymore. That's now reflected light. Okay. So we established our midtone here, and we're establishing our reflected light, which is the midtone of the dark. Okay. We now establish our darks, and our form is red. Now, if I took away both of those, they still have relative form. Proper shapes, especially on the Beetlejuice face. You can still map out a face just from this. So without your overall shape or silhouette of your image, you still have properly placed values and respected values. And that is the point of this. This is the point of understanding your values, and not only understanding them, but separating the light and dark families. We're going to learn about a type of art here, and something for you to think of and really take home by the end of this art history rant. Okay. Now that I've established the importance of understanding these in tattooing, and not only in tattooing, but now we're going to talk about the importance of it in art and the connection between those two. So I'm going to pronounce this word wrong. Making that blatantly clear right now. I was on Zoom last night with my horsemen of friends pronouncing this word and hearing people pronounce it. Chiaroscuro is the Renaissance mode of painting where the story is told by the way light falls on the form, okay? Or also known as extreme contrast. Where have you heard that term before? I'm hoping tattooing. Extreme contrast equals longevity. And longevity is what we want in our tattoos. We don't want people coming back in a year saying the sun ate my tattoo. We want extreme contrast. We want those heavy amounts of dark and a proper field of it. But how are we going to be confident that we can display a proper field of black without knowing where it's supposed to go appropriately? Okay, respecting your values. This is the start of it. They did it in the Renaissance era. We can definitely do it now. So imagine, let's take this back, right? We're in the 1600s. This is the Renaissance era. Italian Renaissance was popping. And imagine you're in a gallery and there's amazing paintings on the walls. All of the defined contrast here, you can see 95% of this is light with a very small amount of dark, high definitions of muscles, linear perspective, symmetrical structures, emotion and mood, like beautiful, a great time for art. Now imagine you're in this gallery and you're walking along, and then you walk by this. And everything else is much more bright compared to this. This is just sitting, screaming at you on the wall. And you're saying to yourself, this is dark. This is as dark as it gets. Yet the story is being just as well told as the rest of the paintings. You can clearly see what's happening here. There's emotion, there's direction, there's action. The light source is placed on them perfectly. This is Calling to Matthews by Caravaggio in 1600. This is when Jesus is calling to Matthew to become one of his disciples. Beautiful. And this is honestly one of my favorite paintings that I've come across. And I just want to take a second for everybody to understand this heightened contrast already without me going deeper into this. The extreme placement of lights and darks, where the story is only being told by that one directed light coming from the window on the top right. Yet you can clearly see what's happening. The questioning in Matthew on the table. The look in Jesus's face and the halo that raises above him. The way that cloth sits on him. Everything. Here's another couple examples. Absolutely masterpieces. Okay. They were figuring it out in the 1600s. Heightened contrast. How light sits on the form. And Da Vinci said it best. With the underlying principle is that solidity of form is best achieved by the light falling against it. Isn't that what I've been saying the whole time? Trying to get you guys to warm up to this idea and this perspective of art and how to transfer that to the art that you have as soon as you leave this class and start your day today. Michelangelo Mercedes de Caravaggio, 1571 to 1610. Italian Renaissance painter famous for his more grotesque paintings and use of chiaroscuro. Now, Caravaggio was not a great person. And it's made very clear as to maybe the personality based on his paintings. I mean, if we just go back one step, right? Little grotesque. And a lot of his paintings display this type of behavior and emotion. He even, if we go back one more, painted, not that one. Forward. Painted himself within this painting. He is the man in the top right. Make sure I'm on the right layer. That's him. This is The Taking of Christ, 1602. Okay. Also one of my favorite pieces that he's done. You can only read based off of this light family. Because once it hits the Terminator line, the shadows are much deeper and farther apart than the light family. But once again, not all of these are highlights. I can't blast white over all of this. That's going to be way too extreme. There's still gradual radiance here until it hits that Terminator line. Then what? That's where the extreme contrast comes in. It's kind of cool what he portrayed in these paintings, because you can really, I don't know if it's just me, you can hear these paintings. I can hear that metal. I can hear the commotion. It's very beautifully done. another kind of grotesque painting of his, but a good representation for central light and highlights. Let me make it a little bit easier for people who may not be understanding fully, or this is your first time viewing my class. Let me mark out this Terminator line on this gentleman on the left here. Okay, and once again, Terminator line is the stopping point between light and dark, the separation of families. So let's view it like this. Is it coming a little more clear to you now? And when we talked about midtone, I talked about how midtone, we kind of talked about midtone as like its own gradient. But now understanding central light, that gradient became a little bit smaller, so a little bit easier for you to establish in your artwork and not make everything a midtone, which we talked about last class, and respecting your light family, which needs to happen. All stories are told in light. And Caravaggio proved that. So now it's time for us to understand it and respect what the masters went through to help us understand our craft today. Okay? So once again, we established this Terminator line. Now we're going to establish our central light. See the separation here? That's not highlight. That's not as light per se as the tone that is on the woman's arm on the top right. Those are way lighter tones. And there's not necessarily a reflection on this man's shoulder, so there's not necessarily a highlight there. Look here, where are the highlights? It is a reflection of light. And it seems to me that the light is really hitting her the most. So she's going to have the most highlights. And of course, he's going to have some highlights on his face due to the reflection off of her shirt. I'm hoping this is becoming a little bit clearer to everybody. And I know it's a lot of information to take in. Trust me, I understand. But this is one of those things where I try and make my classes one after the other. So go back. I'll be here still. If you're not understanding up to this point, go back to your basic forms. Don't make yourself suffer trying to understand things that aren't going to happen yet. Give yourself that time. And after that, we establish our reflected light. Do you see the shapes that are being made? How they're, methodically placed within this composition. This is how you study the masters. This is how you study the moves that they made and the decisions they made. Why did they make those decisions? Place yourself in their position in 1600. Now we're going to extend an olive branch with chiaroscuro and learn about tenebrism, which is a more dramatic chiaroscuro, or dark dominates. Here, how can this get any darker? Well, we still had those reflected lights, didn't we? What if we took those away? This is why understanding these terms is good and useful, because now you can take these terms and play with them. What happens if I take away that reflected light and make everything pretty much an ambient occlusion, or the point of where light does not exist? What happens? Well, this is what happens. Also, one of my favorite pieces to exist in this world. A Man Singing by Candlelight by Adam de Coster, 1625 to 1635. And we're going to take just a quick intermission real quick just to check everybody out. I just want everybody, after everything that I said, everything we learned, just take a look at this composition. Study how well these values were placed. How he put light in methodical ways to still get the story across, but make it dramatic. Okay, real quick. All right. Saying good morning to everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for letting me rant as long as I am. I appreciate it. All right. Good intermission. Let's continue. So, I hope everybody's noticing as well and better understanding the terms that are being said here. There's still a difference between central light and highlight, and I'm hoping it's being very clear here. There's your central light. Everything else is a midtone. But where's your highlight here? Where's that reflection? Well, let me take those away for a second so you can better see. This is going to be real quick to show you where that highlight is. Okay. You could say that here too. And right here. And maybe here. Okay, there you go. There's your highlights. Do you see how little highlights you need to make a composition? You don't need a lot. And it's on those eyes because eyes are wet. So that's why you see that white part in eyes a lot of the time. But making these shapes around Master's works is a great way to understand value. And I'm hoping that throughout these couple weeks, we've understood why value is so important to understand, and not only understand, but respect. I'm going to say that a little more stern because that's something that I didn't do in the beginning of my apprenticeship. And it took me a long time to even understand why I needed to respect my values. Last quick example here. The famous Bob Tyrell and his very well-known Frankenstein portrait. Even Bob Tyrell knows. He may not know the terms, but he definitely knows how to use it. Let's separate that Terminator line. Okay, cool. Now we're starting to see the difference between midtone and reflected light. Okay. There's our central light. Those aren't highlights. That's not the highest point of this. Then midtones. Our midtones can't go past our Terminator line. We know that. So those are our midtones. A vaster array of midtones to help with longevity for our tattoo. There's our reflected light. It's not our midtone because light's not hitting that side. Everything that is lit up on this side is coming from reflection. Now, our darks. There we go. That's it. Oh, wait, but Kier, what about them highlights? Oh, okay. Don't worry about that. I got you. Pink. That's it. It's all it needs. That's it. Because it's a reflection of our central light. Highlights do not equal light. It equals the highest point of light. That's why it's called a highlight. At this point, I'm being silly because it should be absolutely clear what's happening right here. And if you don't quite believe me with the highlights thing, look at where he placed the light. He knows what's up. He understands how little white highlights you need. It still reads as a very bright image, well formed. You don't need to pack it with white because as soon as you do that, what's going to happen? My eye is going to have an aneurysm. That's what's going to happen. My eyes are going to freak out. And for those who may still may not be understanding what's going on, I labeled it. Take a look. Study this for a second. Take a screenshot of it. Put it up in your booth. Help you understand your values. Where to place your values. How to respect your values. This is how we study the masters. That exists too in tattooing. I hope everybody understands. Because after this, I don't know how else to simplify this explanation. Well, maybe you need some hands-on work. And with that, I've came up with a very fun and challenging assignment. We're going to play a game, and I know everybody likes this game. I'm going to be your client for the week. Ooh. I want a light bulb. I want a light bulb, and I want that light bulb to be held in someone's hand. And I want that light bulb to be on. So that you are forced to place your light family appropriately. Ha ha. This is going to be just as much of a challenge for me as you guys, so I'm very excited for this one. This is exactly what I want from everybody. I want it in any style, but I want it on my bicep area, okay? So deltoid area of the body. And it's going on the left-hand side for those who want to care. Left-hand side, deltoid bicep area, light bulb in hand, turned on. Okay. Now, while everybody is getting excited about this assignment, as I am, this is the point where we start to let everybody in who would like to zoom in and ask questions, talk about this subject that we just learned today. If you need me to explain a little bit further about certain things, I'll go back. But I'm excited to see everybody today. Let's start joining everybody in. If you are unfamiliar of how you can join in and share your art to be critiqued, because I love doing that. I love being a helpful hand and being that third-party perspective for you. Feel free to go on to Reinventing the Tattoo. It's a mobile app, or you can go on community.reinventingthetattoo.com, and I post up the Zoom link right into the comments section of this event, which is beaming out there, just in case if you are listening anywhere else, be it YouTube or Vimeo or anything like that. So let's get our good friend Nick Mitchell on here and friends. So let's go back, actually, while everybody's staring at this, let's go back at this painting here and let that be the intermission piece because it's just beautiful. It really is. All right. All right. Let's see if anybody's joined in yet. We got our good friend and two good friends. Wow. All right. Good morning, everybody. Let them connect to audio.
What's up?
Hey, Ricardo.
How goes it?
It's going good, man. I hope everybody was in understanding of what was happening.
Oh, yeah, that was great. That was a really good way of explaining that, especially with the mood and the drama and the weight and the space that it takes up in its own, its own space.
Yeah, it sent me down a rabbit hole because this has been a struggle for myself as well, because I'm very notorious for not understanding where to place my light values. Like I fully understand ambient occlusion and reflected light and like where the separation of families should be, but as soon as it comes to placing midtone and lights, it's like I either make everything a midtone or just make everything way too light, and there's not real gradients between them. And sometimes it takes a while to do that, you know?
It does. That can kind of cause you to lose interest in a project as well, I think.
Yeah, well, because if you can't understand where to place things, because every artist, I can only speak for myself, but I feel like every artist has an image or composition in their head and it's already at that end result, right? You just have to build yourself to that point. So once you get to a point. Good morning, Nick. Everybody, this is Nick Mitchell.
What's up, dude?
But yeah, I think it's a crazy thing. Artists are wild. Hi, Nick. How did the lesson go? Did you learn something new?
Let me figure out this volume thing here real quick. Say that again.
Did you how did you like the lesson there? Did you learn something new?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, once you're doing this for so long, you kind of forget the fundamentals and the terminology of things for sure. But I watched your last video, and there's certain terms I never even heard of, like Terminator Line. I never heard that one. What was the other ones? Central light, I guess, wasn't one of them when I went to school. It was just basic. It was like you have highlights, shadows, midtones, reflective light, just but all these other terms that are in between. It's like you never think about. But now that I, learned from you, it's like, oh yeah, now you start paying attention to those little things that you never really did before, and you start realizing that, oh man, I was doing this the whole time. I never, had terms for it. It's just weird.
Yeah. It's like learning music, right? You learn music without reading notes. You just play. Like it still exists and it happens. But I feel like once you start to understand certain terms, you're like, oh, I get that now. And then it starts to like branch off from there on other things that you can understand. Which is why I throw so many terms at everybody's faces. Ricardo had felt that too when we first met about all the terms and stuff. He had told me once, I want you to tell me as many terms as possible at once.
Entirely true. Yeah, it's hard, especially Nick, I didn't realize that you had a formal education. That's pretty cool. And go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I didn't realize that you had did you have a formal education, you said? I couldn't remember if
I
you said that.
took commercial art back in the day, and that was more on, advertisement layout design with a little bit of art in there mixed in. So it's like you learn very basic stuff, but it's like you don't learn all the nice in betweens that you might need to know. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I guess that one's more like direct to the source, right? Like as far as it being a commercial design class and stuff like that. But general art, Jason and Kira and I have, and Bruno as well, have all had conversations about this, like the difference between formal education and then learning through the process. You know what I mean? And like this, I think that's what we're all talking about right now, which is like stressing the fact that you don't have to know these terms, but it's beneficial to you and your growth as far as being able to communicate with other artists what it is that you're trying to do. You're in a room with a bunch of people that are drawing and painting, and you want to be able to like explain what you feel like you might be missing. You know what I mean? And it's easier to comprehend each other when you have the general table of definitions and terms and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
I think it's good too.
Yeah, and it's like the more you break something down and simplify it, the better you understand it, and you pay attention to things you might not have before. Like Terminator Line, for example. It's like, again, a term I never heard of. You clearly see it clearly on a sphere, and on certain reflective objects, but you don't really pay attention to it too much on everything else that you're doing, and it's there all the time.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And same thing with like central light. It's like, it's just always called highlights, the highlighted area, it's like I never really paid attention to separating the lights, in that sense, which is kind of cool too. And there's one other term, I can't remember which one it was that I didn't hear. I know I mentioned it yesterday. I just don't remember which one it was.
Yeah, I think that was NOTAN. That was notes nice.
Oh yeah, NOTAN. Yeah, it's the thing you yell at your client when they leave your shop. Don't get a tan. That's about all I heard. Like NOTAN.
That's pretty good there.
Yeah. So that was interesting as well, hearing that, how you separate, the dark group and the light group, and you get that nice silhouette, that kind of the dramatics of each end, Yeah,
it's more, I just hope that everybody can be a little bit more confident in themselves when explaining things. And that way, when they sit down to do their work, they feel more confident establishing what they know, be it fundamentals. Because after fundamentals, it's just technical tweaking, I think, in certain directions. So that's, I don't know, my goal. To give everybody just a little bit more confidence, because that always helps. Wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we got Kyle here too. Kyle.
Hello.
Hi, buddy.
How are you?
How you doing, man?
Good. How about yourself?
Paradise is very soon. I'm very excited to meet you, bud.
It is just around the corner.
Yeah,
Yep.
I remember we were discussing that you didn't know if you were going and whatnot, and then you surprised me last week with the fact you were going. Got me all sorts of excited.
Yeah.
Are you making a little light bulb there?
Yeah, I got something started.
Cool.
Just doing some sketches right now.
Yeah, I'm very terrible at hands. I was like binging Ricardo's drawing sessions about hands because, Lord, to me, they just look like bricks with little carrot sticks. But the way that you explained it, Ricardo, was pretty awesome. Explaining, like, seeing those basic shapes and that general perspective line there. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That makes sense there.
Yeah, it's just rectangles. Just nothing but rectangles that overlap each other. And I recall like a long time ago, you and I talked about that book. You recommended it to me. I got it. What is his name, the artist?
Oh, Peter Hahn. That's the
Peter
Dynamic
Hahn.
Bible. Yeah.
The Dynamic Bible, yeah.
That's
So
a good one.
he breaks it down pretty good, you know what I mean, where he talks about the perspective lines and how a regular rectangle is turned into a form by adding those dimensional lines to it, and that creates that 3D effect, right? So then you just kind of skew the perspective on it, and it entirely changes up that shape, and it changes the way that we're perceiving the image. and it's pretty cool. And they just kind of like overlap each other, you know. And it's like you're saying, you know, if you break it down to some simple ways of looking at things, it takes the stress off of it, and it helps you be able to create what it is you want to create. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm glad you took away from that, because I was like, man, I hope I'm making sense. I know exactly how you feel, Eric. This makes sense to me, but does it make sense to you guys? Because I feel like you're like, I'm not sure if we're like, I hope we're on the same page here, you know, like.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I don't let anybody into the Zooms early on, because I don't want to see like blank faces. So I'm like, are they understanding what I'm saying?
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, pretty much. Where I can just be normal me and just ramble, and then just be like, I hope it went in somewhere.
Yeah.
Like whenever I discover something new in color theory, and I have to tell every single person I know on the planet, I'm like, you don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those things. That's why being an artist is so fun.
It's one of them for sure.
You mean I get to study about how blue doesn't exist? Great. it's fantastic. But
There goes a little nerve in my head you just blew. Didn't get it?
oh my
Wow, wow.
yeah, I had sent you guys that video not that long ago about that blue pigment stuff. Oh, it's amazing.
Cool.
Pretty much revolves around how like blue pigment doesn't actually exist in nature. Like when you see like blue jays and stuff like that, it's just the reflection that's hitting off of them that's making you think it's blue. But if you were to get a blue jay wet, they actually turn gray, so they're not really blue. Isn't that wild?
Fucking crazy.
Wow, that's just too much. I need to take a nap now.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
That's what I'm saying.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's so
like how-
based on the fact of how many resources we have now compared to like 20 years ago with YouTube and
absolutely.
everything like that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I think we have it pretty easy compared to what they had to do back in the day. It's nice that technology's kind of stepping in and helping streamline some of the stuff, you know, that we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you know how long I would sit in Barnes and Noble and not buy anything and just like look at as many art books as I could the entire time I was there. You know, and then go to the library and check out whatever books I could get my hands on. And now it's just like type it in your phone and boom, there it goes. And away we go.
I was going to say the sad thing is now you go to these bookstores and there's no art section really at all anymore.
Yes!
But you're right, you can get everything on your phone. So it kind of balances out there, but it was sad for a while.
It is, man. Yeah, I agree with you completely. Yeah, it's a bummer. You're like, damn it, where's the art section? Oh, okay.
It's like next to the journals, and you're like, this is rude.
Yeah, and it's like this big. It's like this
and
big.
It's like 15 books on Michelangelo and then one book on Van Gogh, and they called it a day.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, just to watch it deteriorate and get smaller and smaller through the years, you know, starting off with a section, then all of a sudden just, oh, there's a bargain bin in a box over here. You know, it's like, it's sad, you know, it should be a dominant thing in these stores still.
I agree with you.
I will say for Barnes and Noble, the trick is to go to the comic book section.
Yeah.
That has the illustrative books. That has all of the art books, because that section is way bigger than it was back then. So they squeeze all those art books in there through the comic book section. I found some good steals from there. But I totally agree. I had gone to Barnes and Noble not that long ago, and I was like, oh, I just want a new book. I just want like a handbook I can flip pages and look at. And I went there and I was like, Barnes and Noble has such a good section. This is going to be great. And I brought my friend, and it was like this one little spot next to calendars and stickers. And I was like, oh. And I was like, mostly those adult coloring books. And I was like,
oh Lord.
No.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just miss having that hard copy of something, you know, and it's like you're studying it, you're picking it apart, you're doing your research from it, and then like years later you go to pick that book up and it's in pieces and half the pages are missing and ripped out because you really went for it, you know. You don't have that anymore. Now it's all digital, so I mean it's more convenient. You can have it all on your phone or with you at all times. But I don't know, just something magical about looking back at those books that you're studying hard when you're younger, and it's like, oh man, I put some work into these books. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
They got like mysterious discoloration and like
Yeah. Cheeto fingerprints everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Late night tears.
Yeah, right.
Why are all these pages ripped out? Don't worry about it. Don't talk about it. Just go away.
Yeah.
Let's move past this, please.
And we got our good buddy Bruno. Hi, Bruno.
Hey
Bruno.
guys,
Bruno,
good
what's up?
morning. How's it going, everyone?
Good to see you,
Talking
man.
about
Alright.
this the old art section at like Barnes and Nobles and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man, I miss it. I used to go straight to it, you know, look for the Alex Gray book or for the H.R. Geiger book, and they used to have
Yeah.
great books, man, for
Yeah.
inspiration.
Yeah,
The
and it's
world
like
is
the more you
changing.
get involved with being an artist, it's like not only is it just artists that you're looking up to, but it's also artist friends that you know and you met through the industry. So you become almost, more part of that book section that just disappeared. It's like, I don't know.
True. Yeah, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just those books, those Alex Gray books are now in the what section is it? What do they call it?
Oh, they moved them.
Yeah, they're all around. I have found these books. They're in like the witchy area. There's like a witchy area that's like right behind like the psychedelic area. That's where they are.
Oh, they have
Well.
a psychedelic area? Dang,
Yeah, they do.
I missed that.
It's a new age now. Now
I
you
mean, it's
gotta go
good
searching.
placement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I mean, I'm always interested in like book recommendations. Do you guys have any recommendations on books you've been reading lately, or is it now just seminars or anything like that? Anybody suggestions?
Oh man, let's see.
Drawing with the right side of the brain
That's a good one.
is a book that I haven't completed at all, but it was strongly recommended, and I have it here. I know there's a lot of key things in that book.
Yeah,
Let me see.
Sandy had given me that one and recommended that one, and I got it. Cardo's got like 15 million books. He's like, you just cracked open a wheelbarrow, man. This is gonna be sick. I usually go for like that Peter Hahn book is really, really good. I've been reading this comic book because I have crazy plans for my career, so I need some sort of learning, but I've been learning about the way comic books are written. So this book, Understanding Comics, it's by Scott McCloud. I've just been tearing through
nice.
this one. He wrote it like a comic book, but he pretty much
That's awesome.
just gives examples and helps you understand the way that comic books are read. Because there is always a difference, and I've understood this since day one of my apprenticeship. There's a difference between the viewer and the artist, and you have to learn as an artist, not as a viewer. So I'm reading these comic books, and I'm reading them, and I understand like color palettes and the line weights and all that fundamental stuff. But there's got to be something more in depth into writing these comics, more structured, a technique behind it. So I went searching into Barnes & Noble and found this amazing book. Once again, Understanding Comics. Everybody should read it. It's a quick read.
That's a great one.
Yeah, it's a good one. Let's see what you got, Cardo.
I like readability, I'm sure it goes over all that, like readability, capturing the mind's eye.
Yeah, the first chapter was about pretty much like how comics have been around since Egyptian times with their own, drawings on the walls and everything like that, how they told their own stories. And then it just transfers to there, where comics are really just, illustrative visionary art. And you just have to do it in the proper way to make everybody understand what you're saying. And he gets really philosophical with some of his understandings. And I love that book, and I love the way it's written. Did you grab one, Cardo? I saw you get up.
Oh yeah, I got a couple of them. This is one called by Victor Perard. This is an older one. I think it's, let's see, when was it brought out? Let me look at the year. Oof, 99, I think. 99, yeah. It's like anatomy and drawing. This one's not too bad.
Well, that's a good
Pretty
one.
good. Yeah, it goes over everything. Hands. It's pretty generic though. Like it doesn't go into a whole lot of detail, but it's got a lot of really resourceful kind of images and small explanations and stuff like that, and ways of breaking things down into angles and everything like that too. It's pretty good, especially when it comes to like the movement of the body, you know. And then this isn't really an art book, but if you guys get a chance and you find anything by, I think it's pronounced the Chiba collection or Ciba collection, CIBA. It's a bunch of medical illustrations.
Oh, those are fun. Okay.
Yeah, these are great. These are great books. You can usually find them at like, man, you can probably find them online pretty easy, but a lot of them that I've found, believe it or not, have been in like what is it, like yard sales and stuff like that. People are getting rid of these books for like 20 cents. And it's like, dude, these things are priceless. What are you doing?
What are you doing? This is a work of art. He's like screaming on somebody's lawn.
I mean, like literally, like these things were designed, and like, you know, there's illustrative images of the body function, the internal functions of the body, how it relates to itself and stuff like that. And it's all hand painted, you know, like these images are incredible. Like there's this brain one right here that's freaking awesome.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like these are all hand done, dude, and it's like they're incredible. And you can't replace this stuff. Like you know, Nick was talking about earlier, it's a digital age. It's really easy to kind of like copy and paste something from Google and stuff like that and just slam it in there. And these things were studied, you know, these bodies were studied. These people were involved with these autopsies and stuff like that, and they were in there like studying this material and then started painting it.
Yeah,
you
that
know.
that happened. That's how artists knew how to illustrate
Wow.
the inside of the body. Back in like the 1600s and stuff like that, they would steal bodies out of graves and decompose them and take them apart and then draw them.
Yeah, it's
Like,
pretty
that's
wild.
insane.
That's probably what we would be doing back in those days, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey guys, you want to go and get one of those bodies tonight and just look into it?
I mean, yeah.
Hey
Why
Bruno,
not?
it.
but you're on watch.
Yeah.
Ready to go do that now?
Yeah, no doubt, right? Let's go. I'm calling my appointments and canceling right now.
Yeah, it's
But it is
uh,
important to have at least one or two books of just anatomy.
Yeah,
I mean, no matter
Oh, yeah.
what you're doing figures, if you're doing faces, you have to understand the muscle and
Yeah.
bone structure underneath the flesh to know why it's shaped that way, what's happening underneath, so you get a better understanding of what you're seeing.
Yes.
And I have a book as well, the one that I pull from, because I used to do zombies for a long time, Atlas of Human Anatomy and Surgery.
Wow.
So this is one that I have.
Wow.
It's the same thing. It's all hand drawn,
Mhm.
and it's just packed with art. It's just nothing but, I wish I can like maybe thumb through this, but it's just images after images
Yeah.
of different body parts, everything broken down. And I go through anatomy in the class too when it comes to the face and all the muscles and everything and what they do, because I can never remember the name of a muscle. But I do remember what the function is, and that's going to help me figure out where to place it and where it's going to go.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. I got these are pretty basic. You know, I've seen them in a lot of tattoo shops, but these are awesome.
Yeah, that's
Those
a
are
great book.
Great, dude.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a great book.
Yeah,
All
this
those
is like-
dynamic drawings, man. What's the
Yeah.
guy's name?
Yeah.
Bern Hogarth? Yeah, Hogarth. Is
Uh-huh.
man.
Yeah, the
I
drip
remember those.
wrinkles. This
Yeah.
is amazing, man.
Yeah, those are my next books. I'm gonna get
That's the
them.
one I had right there. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
Dude,
these are
that's like
super
the
helpful.
Bible.
That is like the best book for
Yeah.
dynamic figures.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, these are awesome, man.
You nailed
Yeah,
it,
those are
Bruno.
great. Let me see if I have one more. I'm gonna go grab that dynamic Bible that
Dynamic
Part
Bible.
of
That sounds insane.
it's great. I've been wanting to take some of his seminars. I'm trying to save up to take his dynamic classes because the way he sketches, like just watching YouTube videos, everybody needs to do this. This is part of your homework. look up Peter Hahn on YouTube, and he has a pretty much like a little segment where he talks about how he illustrates from his brain, like without reference or anything like that. But watching him just sit there and just go with an ink pen and just make a masterpiece is just mind blowing.
Wow. Yeah, I want to see that.
How do you spell his last name? H-A-H-N?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which one?
Peter Hahn, Hahn. Yeah. Yeah, it's like one of the first books that she shared with me, and she's like, "You got to check it out." I was like, "I'll check it out. I'll check it out." Okay.
Like, if I check it out, will you leave me alone?
Yeah. Okay, I got it. Now what? Jeez. I like the homework she gave. The hand with the light bulb. I think it's gonna be fun. I forgot my iPad, so I'm drawing analog today.
Cool.
Just subscribe to his YouTube.
Yeah, he's absolutely fantastic. Him and Karl Kopinski. I really like concept artists, so a lot of artists that I follow are Karl Kopinski. He's another one of those ink pen illustrators. Peter Hahn, and Carl Jung. He's a Korean artist that's just, he can draw perspective like no tomorrow. He's one of those artists where he literally, I was watching an interview of him, and he was sitting basically here, and all he did was turn his head just, right and left, and he drew the entire room in fisheye perspective, just from looking right to left. Insane.
Wow.
Awesome.
Let me see here. Okay, so this is, let me see if I can put this on my laptop without ruining anything. This is the Dynamic Bible by Peter Hahn.
Wow.
So that's the front of it.
Really nice book. It's hardback too, I think, isn't it?
It's just a different form of sketching. So how he breaks down forms.
Yeah, here it is.
And there's like lots of understanding of perspective and how to use contouring shapes and different
Terminator
stroke
Edge.
marks. There's Terminator Edge. This is one of my favorite exercises. I taught this exercise in my cube lesson. This is boxes in space to understand perspective. That is a very fun exercise.
And Kira, this is what I was referencing whenever I was talking about the class that you taught. It's like, as far as hands go and fingers and the way they overlap each other and stuff like that, was those cube exercises, the way that you float them in the space amongst each other with using those perspective angles that you just showed.
Right.
So like they overlap each other, and then they lean forward the viewer by changing the angle of the line. There you go.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Like, it's just, he's gonna release 2 more books, but this one is definitely one to pick up. You can get it on that website. He pretty much just hand drew his goddamn book. I don't know. He's amazing. He's a really, really amazing artist. I know a couple artists in my area that can, and they were character artists in their past. We have Six Flags around here, and a lot of artists will get jobs as character artists in the beginning of their career. And he was one of them. And the way he can just make composition straight from his brain onto paper is absolutely amazing. And I 100% do believe that character and doing character studies as a job does that to you, where you just have to look at this and interpret it in a simplistic way and represent it right on the paper for your client. It's like,
and you're also time.
I guess in a way, as we learn more strategies and more ways to go about like putting together a composition, in a way, I think it's about changing the way that we look at things, right? Like, for example, when I first started taking the Monday night classes with Guy, I would look at my compositions in a way that was way more linear You know, it was just the way that I always drew. You know, I just thought about the lines that I would do to translate what I was seeing in my head into paper. But after like doing the Monday night classes, I realized that, you know, Guy would look at these compositions from the start by picturing where the values were, you know, where the dark tones were and where the light tones were. And so I realized that I had to change the way that I looked at a first glance at the composition that I wanted to put together. And instead of looking at it through a linear way, I was looking at it now through like where the darks and the lights were, you know, and like after understanding, reading this book that you're showing us, right, there's probably gonna be a situation where I'm gonna have to reset the way that I look at my compositions again, including this information.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely, Bruno. And Nick, you were a character artist, right? You studied to
Yeah.
be one, or how did that section of your life kind of go?
Well, as far as, I learned at Busch Gardens, Tampa, Florida was pretty much where I got my start. And the way they used to do it back then, you know, they would interview you, look at your portfolio, and then they would shove you in a class for 2 weeks. And, you know, if you made the cut, you got the job. If you didn't, they told you to hit the bricks, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, once you're in that theme park setting, it's very much trial by fire. You know, you are timed. You have 3 minutes to draw a black and white face, 5 minutes to do a color face, maybe 10 minutes to do a full body. So you have the time pressure, you have people watching you. It's a little nerve-wracking at first. But you're right, it does, you know, pound in a foundation, you know, when it comes to layout, design, you know, all of it. Because you're on the spot, you got to do it right then and there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely nerve-wracking, and you have to have a certain confidence in yourself already established before even entering something like this. And absolutely, hats off to you, 100%. I'm sure there were people that, because from the friends that I've had who are character artists, they've told me stories of how people sometimes didn't like their drawings, and I was like, "What? How do you not? You just say yeah and just walk away. You don't say anything." They're like, "Nah, man, they don't care."
Oh no, they're there to ride roller coasters and, you know, eat hot dogs or whatever they do at theme parks. They're not there for us, you know. So it's like they do not care. They don't like it. They're going to tell you. Not only that, but it's an American thing. To be honest with you, it's like I worked Busch Gardens for roughly 7 years, right? And the one group that you can exaggerate the most, and they loved it, was British, English. They loved caricatures. But as soon as you try to exaggerate with someone that's from here, the States, they would get offended immediately. I mean, a good example of that is like, I don't know if you guys remember this show called Spitting Image back in the day. They used to make these grotesque Muppet caricatures of celebrities. Like back in the day, Genesis had them work on one of their videos, Land of Confusion. He did like Ronald Reagan and all these exaggerated puppets. That's Spitting Image. They used to have a TV show in the UK, you know, making fun of all the celebrities, royal family, you know, and they had multiple seasons as far as I was aware. They tried to do one season here in the US. I think it lasted maybe 1 or 2 episodes, and that was canceled. They shut it down, you know, because it's just, you know, I don't know. It's just a kind of cultural thing, I guess, to where, you know, certain cultures can handle the exaggeration much more than what we do. But yeah, I used to get rejected every day. Every day somebody would get mad, take it personal, and reject it. So we used to make it a game. We used to call it the Jack 'em Up contest. And every time I worked a booth, me and the artist would sit there and try to exaggerate as hard as we could with these people coming through the door. And if you had extreme exaggeration, if the likeness was on point and it looked just like them, and if they rejected the drawing and you had the best one at the end of the day, you win. So it helped with the artist morale, understanding that, hey, we are here to make fun of people. People aren't going to like it. You have to be okay with it. You know, it's not a personal attack of your artwork. It's just that they got offended because you made fun of their face. I mean, it's kind of natural in a way, you know. but it definitely helped them focus on the artwork and really try to push that exaggeration while maintaining a likeness. So they started drawing real caricatures, really going for it. And it just helped with morale because it made the job fun. Now they're showing up to be an artist and come up with some crazy concepts and designs versus just trying to make a dollar. So I think that game definitely helps, the artists, at that time grow and really push what they're doing and not get so offended when someone doesn't like their work, So
Yeah, that's always the key part of it, right? I think so. I think everybody just likes being drawn, like the idea that they're going to be drawn, that when the end
Yeah.
result happens, they're thinking characters are more realistic than what it is. Like it's supposed to
Yeah.
be an exaggeration. That's what character is. It equals exaggeration.
Yeah, exactly. I think, what happens, especially in theme parks, some companies hire mass amounts of people, and a lot of those artists, they don't want to offend anybody, so they end up developing a cute cartoony style. And when the majority of people are doing these cute foo-foo type caricatures, that's what society thinks they are. So when they sit down and get a real caricature where their nose is huge and their forehead's shooting off the paper, they don't know what to do with it because they're looking at some of the displays on the wall that are probably a little nicer. So at least when, we were doing the Busch Gardens thing, I tried to change all the demos to be more exaggeration, more exactly what we do, and made it the norm there to where people weren't really rejecting a whole lot anymore because they knew what to expect. But I think because you have artists that are afraid to push the exaggeration and really go for it, and they do this cutesy kind of sketch, society thinks that's what it is. So when you do a real caricature, they just think that you're being mean. They don't realize that, no, I'm just really trying to push this art form here. It's like, no, you're being mean to my kid or whoever you're drawing. So it's a weird line. I think the beauty of it is like when we started doing the zombies at conventions, I didn't get rejected at all. There's something about making somebody a zombie that pulls them out of the equation to where you're not making fun of them anymore. You're just doing a zombie version of them. So you can exaggerate as hard as you wanted and people didn't care anymore. So that was the beautiful thing about zombies, because it definitely freed us up to push hard as we want and do what we want, and there was no consequences anymore. It was nice.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. I think it's because they are already assuming that the zombie is going to make them look completely different than what they are. It's all a perspective thing. It's quite crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like I said, it went from every day getting rejected and offending somebody to I had one reject out of, 2010. So it's been 11 years full time of doing zombies when it used to happen every day. So it's weird that, that little separation there, put a little cut or a scratch somewhere, and all of a sudden it's not them anymore. And you can do whatever. It's nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's crazy to me, man. I used to get those done every once in a while, and I was always disappointed when they just barely caricatured me. You know what I mean? I was like, what? This isn't a real caricature. What are you doing, man? Like, where's my giant forehead? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like seriously, like, where's my giant forehead? Where's my big nose? And like, where's my little eyes and stuff, dude? Like, what's going on here, man? Like, maybe that was just
those guys.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No,
all those
ahead,
guys go on autopilot, and they just draw as fast as they can to make that dollar and not get their feelings hurt. So they fall in this little pocket where it's like they're not able to, help your forehead out, and get those things that you really look forward to,
Yeah, seriously. It's like, this is a caricature, dude. We want to make fun. Like, that's the thing, maybe it's probably both ends. You know what I mean? It's kind of like with a tattoo artist when you're asked, hey man, what would you do? Do whatever you want. I usually tell people, I'm like, I don't know if you're going to like what I really want to do. You know what I mean? Like, I will do that. But most likely what's going to happen is I'm going to draw my picture, and then I'm going to have one that I think you'll like more. You know what I mean? And and 9 times out of 10, they're like, yeah, let's go and go with this other one. I'm like, okay, cool. No worries, man. I just thought I'd put it out there for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, then you have some people that, that can sell an image, and they can definitely sell somebody on what it is that they want to do and stuff like that. That's cool and all, but ultimately to me, it just boils down to, with a tattoo anyways, is like, let's work with the client to give them as much of what it is that they want, but she'll still have our own voice in it too. You know what I mean? But so you try to you try to keep it level-headed, but not lose your integrity. Try not to lose your integrity and try not to lose your artistic ability and stuff too. So if you're just selling it, like you said, just to make sure you make that money, that's another thing altogether. Because like, you know, I've told people before, like, I think what you want me to do is give you the exact image you brought up in off of Pinterest. And I'm not going to do that for you. I'm not going to do it for you, you know? So there's a difference.
You're right. There's a line there that you have to, you know, kind of balance where I'm trying to keep the client happy and still have, you know, your artistic integrity there.
Right.
But, and, you know, it's a collaboration between you and the client in a lot of sense. But I try to make sure that during the consultation, I'm very clear on what I'm going to do. And, you know, I might, you know, backtrack or try to, you know, sugarcoat things when it comes to any tattoo, but caricature is the only thing I don't. I draw what I draw you how I see you. It's a take it or leave it kind of situation with a caricature, because they take me hours to draw sometimes. It's not like I'm in the theme park mode anymore. I can just bust out something in 5 minutes, you know. So, and not only that, but you see people differently than everybody else. So how I see somebody is going to be different than how you see them. So that's the only scenario where I have to tell the client during the consultation that I'm going to exaggerate and draw this caricature. If you don't like it, you don't have to get it. I understand, but I'm going to do me, and that's all I can do with that, you know.
Yeah, and that's a really good way to preface them with it. You know what I mean? Like, you might not have the same expectation as I do. I think that's a brilliant way to do it. It's like, you know, and a lot of people will feel involved with the moment then too. You know, like they're participating in it. You know, so that's some people like that, man, that experience, you know, and that's great.
Absolutely. The more you communicate and the more you can make them part of the tattoo process, the more they're going to love it and respect it, you know, and they'll trust you.
Yeah, you got it, bro.
Absolutely.
And it's like, I understand, you know, like if I'm drawing a caricature of their kid, you know, they can get very offended, you know, so that's why I give them that little bit of leeway. Like, if you don't like it, it's fine. But as far as celebrities and other people, you know, normally they don't care. They're just like, you know, you can do whatever you want to. You know, it's when they have that personal connection where they get a little iffy, you know. Giving that kid a big old 5 head, you know, it might not be their cup of tea, but it's like, hey, kid's got a big head. I'm sorry.
What do you want me to say? Look at that thing.
The healthy like noggin there.
It's like a virtual planetoid. They named him Heed.
I am gonna go around the room and see if anybody's ready to show what they have. You don't have to. If you don't want to, that's okay. Mr. Kyle, are you ready to show yours?
Sure.
Perfect. Let me just spotlight you real quick. There you go, buddy. What do you got for us?
I got a couple sketches right here.
Cute. Okay. Which one you leaning towards?
I was leaning more towards this one in the corner up here, and I started to refine it a bit more here.
All right. I like how you already have your darks established. Good job. Yes, yes. Okay. Continue it and definitely post it when you're done. I'd like to see it finished, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Awesome. Cardo, do you have anything to show for the class today?
Yeah, I'm working on this. Like, I'll show you real quick. I don't know if you can see that or not. Can you see that there?
A little bit. Oh, look at you integrating things like you always do.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice.
So the whole Edison bulb. Yeah, I'm trying to play with like what I can do to help establish a time period. You know what I mean? I think I might put some like old pocket watch kind of thing with it or something. I don't know, but anyways, yeah. So that, and then I was drawing when you were talking too. Let me get rid of this thing quick. Can you see that very well?
It's a little dark. Just hold it still. There you go. There you go.
So we're doing this like snake body lady thing. Yeah. So I think I'm gonna work on both of them, but I haven't drawn with pencil for a while, so it's fun.
Switching it up. Heck yeah.
I forgot my iPad. I forgot my laptop. Everything. I was like, what the hell? Oh my god. Where am I? What year is this?
And Nick, did you draw anything up? You don't have to if you don't want to.
I didn't draw anything. I grabbed a couple of books that I've been leaning on. I don't know if you guys ever look at the Spectrum books. You ever heard of those?
Yes, dude, they're amazing.
These are amazing. They come out with one every year, and it's just packed with contemporary artists and like fantasy art. And I don't know, just different styles. And all these artists are amazing in these books. And just inspirational, really.
What is it called? I'm writing it down right now.
Spectrum. They come out with one every year where they're pretty much showcasing contemporary artists. So I think each artist has a couple pages in the book, but it's like it's packed with just art. It's nothing but artwork.
Digital, oil, it's got drawings, everything. Yeah, man.
I feel like one of you have shown me these books already. Ricardo, do you have one of these books? I feel like you showed me one when I showed to Illinois.
Yeah, I showed you. I think I have seven of them, because there's quite a few, and they're all they're thick. They're just like what he just shown, and it's artists all over the world, and they're just like a year's worth of awesome media. You know what I mean? So it's great, dude. Like hands down, you can just spend hours and hours just staring at these paintings all the time. I'll always like kind of use it like whenever I'm just kind of lulling around, not sure what I'm gonna do. I'll just like kind of flip through the book real fast, let the pages fall through and just put the book away and then start drawing. You know what I mean? So it's pretty inspirational for sure.
I will now have to definitely get it then.
Very resourceful.
Last one. There's one more. This is Sebastian Kruger. He is the top of the caricature portrait field as far as I'm concerned. Well, he does acrylic paintings.
Oh, that's so cool.
Celebrities. And I mean, this is back in like the 80s. This is an old book, but this is one of those books that I just tore into. The pages aren't even in there. Oh, I've got a random Mad magazine inside it from 1970. But like, you know, this is Madonna that he did. You know, just crazy exaggerations. I actually just got a print from him that's going to be shipped soon of an Amy Winehouse that he did. That's just insane, crazy exaggerations. He's on Instagram too. Let me see if I can find his Instagram real quick.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Should be the Sebastian Kruger.
Sebastian
But he's
Kruger.
definitely worth giving a follow. Sorry, bear with me, and I'll find it. And then that's the only two books I grabbed.
Bruno, did you draw anything up while we're waiting?
No, I didn't. I've been catching up on something.
That's okay.
Sorry about that, Kier.
No, it's okay. Nobody has
So-
to.
Sebastian Kruger official, I guess, is his Instagram, and he's doing a Val Kilmer right now from Tombstone.
Awesome.
But he has a lot of process shots of what he's doing, so you get a nice kind of step by step what's going on in this next painting, and it's pretty cool to see all the under layers of what he's doing. But this is the Winehouse that I'll be picking up.
What?
Wow.
Crazy exaggerate. I don't know if you can see it clear enough, but
Wow.
I don't know if that was blurry or not. Sorry if it was.
No, you're good. We saw it. It was definitely very, very exaggerated.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? But yeah, that's my input for books right now. So
Oh, that's a good.
all I
That's
got.
good inputs. I will definitely be looking up all of that. I'm terrible with hands, so everybody please bear with me. There's still a work in progress, but I started a light bulb of sort. So we started, this is like our under painting of our hand that will eventually lead to finished, hopefully.
Nice.
We may do full color, but we just wanted to point out once again the Terminator line there where it cuts off. And obviously it's a color theory trend to put your warm colors in front, cooler colors in the shadows, or vice versa, depending on the color of your light source. And since light bulbs are usually of warm light, we are deciding to put cooler tones in the shadows to help with depth. And that's that. Yeah. So we will
Awesome.
continue that on. Thank you.
Yeah, it
We'll
looks great.
continue- We will continue on. I hope everybody learned something today. I do have to cut this now because I do have to go tattoo. So what we're gonna do is everybody's gonna go around, say where they can find everybody on social media wise, and we'll go from there. We'll start with you, Kyle. We spotlight you. There you go, buddy. Where can people find you?
Yeah, just Skies of Fire Tattoo, Instagram. Pretty much that's where I post most of my stuff at.
And you're gonna be at the Paradise BYOB, right, Kyle?
Yes, I will.
Heck yeah, man!
All right.
Awesome.
It'll be
Okay.
exciting.
Next we got. Let me replace spotlight. There we go. Got Bruno. Bruno, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Prismas_art. PRISMAS_art.
Cool. And you're
And I'll
gonna,
see you at I'll see you guys at the BYOB. I can't wait. It's
Heck
gonna be
yeah,
awesome.
Bruno.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Yeah. I'm counting the days.
I am too, man, at this point. All right. And then we have Cardo.
Hello. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Candor Tattoo, CANDOR Tattoo. I've started posting some stuff on Facebook again recently. It's Ricardo Sertivant, and also on the Reinventing app under Ricardo Sertivant. I teach classes on Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. If you guys want, come on in. We talk about everything. I haven't been teaching too much stuff lately, just kind of hanging out and drawing, but I'm going to start getting back on that here pretty soon. So today's class is wonderful, Kier. Thank you so much. You put a lot of good terminology to use as far as describing what it is. It helps create some of that dramatic effect in some of these things, especially with some of these old masters. Like Caravaggio's hands down one of my favorite, probably my favorite artists.
He's amazing.
That I've come across. Yeah, his use of space and intersecting angles and a lot of the things that I talk about quite a bit is perfection. It's just perfect. So I always try to look at it and see if I would have done something different. I'm like, I don't know how. So like every time, and I can't wait to eventually at some point in time kind of like see some of the stuff in person and be amazing. So.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, thanks for joining. Thanks for having me on, and I appreciate it very much.
Of course.
Yes.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Cardo.
having me on as well, Kier. It was
worries.
a really great class. Like I really feel like I learned a lot. Killed
You
it.
guys are the best. Thank you. I mean, I very much try my best. I'm just here to try and get everybody to learn some terms and understand art and respect our masters who put so much work and time so that we can have the resources that we do now. So there's no excuse not to learn what they have, established. So with that being said, I had to make a couple announcements before we take our time off. We are having a giveaway for the Paradise BYOB. I just posted it on the gram. And it pretty much, you just got to repost, tag 3 friends, and you get a chance to win the Paradise BYOB seminars for free. It's of $100 value. So what's not to lose, right? We like free things. And then I'm going to be doing a fundamental seminar with Amy Nichols from Apprenticeship Diaries. We were together once before for the apprenticeship and the digital age. So now we're going to be talking about the importance of fundamentals. Like you guys haven't been hearing that already from this class. Why not talk about it more? So on top of that, I will be also having a painting demo where I will be doing this cool funky skull and just talking about color theory, because Gabe is so nice and gave me 6 hours to just talk about color theory. So, hey. And that's all for the announcements for now. You can follow me on Frankie Says Things on Instagram for more updates and leading up to the Paradise BYOB. And you can follow me on Reinventing at Frankie Tattoos Things. I'm just a first-year tattooer trying my best. So thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you to Reinventing the Tattoo, Gabe and Guy and Lauren and Sandy, all those fun guys. Thank you to the Horsemen. You guys are great for coming on today. And last but not least, this is the time where we look at the camera and make a funky face and call it a day. Goodbye, everybody. Have a wonderful day. And you guys
Goodbye.
are the
Thanks for having
best.
us.